Yo, what's up, guys? Felix from Giant Lifestyle. In this video, I'm sitting down with two trucking experts. One is an expert in the insurance industry, and another is an expert in getting your equipment financed. So, welcome both to the channel, guys. Welcome, Jay, and welcome, Daniel. We're going to start with you, Jay. First, tell everybody who you are, where you're from, and what do you do?
All right. Well, my name is Jay Johnson. I'm from South Carolina originally, but our company is located in Fort Worth, Texas. What I do, I finance assets. That's what I look at. Specifically in the trucking industry, I finance trucks, trailers, whether it's a semi, it's a dump truck, box trucks. We finance a lot of we finance equipment. And of course, since we are a full service finance company, we provide garage financing for fleets. When truckers when they're growing their fleet, they're growing, and the problem becomes like, where am I going to store my truck or my trailer? So we can provide financing for them to also, buy warehouses, buy land, gate it, so their stuff can be secure in that manner.
Perfect, perfect. So, do you want to say the name of your company and everything like that?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So, my finance company is called Truck and Funder.
Perfect. Now,
Yes, sir.
your honest opinion, because there's a lot of people out there and a lot of videos and a lot of content. When somebody's trying to get financing from a company, I've heard, horror stories, good things, bad things. What is something that somebody just watching my channel looking to get into the industry and the business, what's something they should look for so they can have a pleasant and successful experience?
Man, honestly, they have to first go with their gut. You know what I mean? They can't be scared to talk to people. They can, and beyond me, they need to be talking to their professionals, when they're starting their company. They need to talk to finance companies. They need to talk to Daniel, their insurance agents, their CPAs, and then they can make informed decisions. Okay. So talk to a couple of finance companies and get a feel for the person you're working with, you know. And I like to say, understand if they're transactional or relationship driven. Okay. Meaning, are they just, hey, let me get you financed real quick so I can get this quick commission and go about your business? Or I like to think of myself as a relationship, because I don't only want to finance this first truck or trailer. I want to finance your 10th, if that's in your business plan to get that far. Okay. And I want to have, and I'm not just going to finance anybody. Like that, your credit needs to be together. You definitely need to have an outline, a strategy plan of what you're trying to do. You just can't just jump in and hope for the best. Like, hey, I'm just going to make this, $5,000 every week. But how?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I'm going to ask those questions because I'm curious, is this going to be a relationship of longevity, or is this going to be a transition and this person is going to be out of business in 6 months?
Mm.
And then, so at the end of the day, they should, do a gut check and don't be afraid to talk to different companies. You know what I mean? That's the best thing.
I got you.
In my opinion.
I like what you said. I remember you said that the first time we spoke, where, you're not going to just let somebody, get into a loan or get into a finance situation where that they're not in the position to be able to handle that. And it's really going to end up doing them more damage than good. And I'm sure there's tons of people out there who will just say, let me get you financed, and put them into a situation that ends up doing them terribly, doesn't put them in a situation for success. And you're actually one of those people, very few, that actually care, because, if you help them, really help them, you're going to really help yourself. So
exactly.
That's, that's real. And that's awesome to hear, man, because that nowadays is so far for you to come by. People just, as soon as they line their pockets, they run off ghosts. And, whether you have
It's
success,
off to the next.
yeah, you have success with your truck, or your truck is, you're defaulting on the payments within a year, they don't care. So that's really awesome to hear. What would you say is like a, qualified applicant? Obviously, everybody's credit score and money and finances are different, but somebody, can you give us an example of somebody who's never going to get approved, somebody who's, somewhere in the middle, and then someone who, you can get approved all day long?
okay, all day long, every business owner should, just to be in business, you at least need to have a 680 or better.
Yeah.
That's across the board of trying to, get any type of financing, better financing. Of course, higher is better, but at that bare minimum, it needs to be at 680. Okay. Um, I cut the line off at 550. Anybody, I mean, honestly, it should be, you know, a little higher than that, but a lot of people coming at me with 496 or 525. I'm like, unfortunately, brother, you got to get your priorities right.
Yeah.
Okay, like this ain't the time for you to purchase a truck. Like, you need to get this in order if you're serious about business. If
Yeah.
you're serious about business, you got to focus on your personal credit first. Okay,
Yeah.
and work on that. Seek help if you don't know how to pay off the bad debt and how to add, good trade lines onto your credit. They gotta take the time to get educated, because personal credit and commercial credit is that's the only way they're going to grow their business.
Yeah.
I got fleet owners now who still get turned down. I had a fleet owner earlier this week with 60 trucks in his fleet.
Wow.
Got turned down. Okay.
Really?
So these, startups, they got to take it seriously.
Why did he get turned down? Did he have a lot of inquiries? Did he have like collections, or what was the situation? Did he have too many
Well,
trucks?
the banks don't go into all that, because that's between the bank and that applicant
Hmm.
on like the reasons. But the only thing, the bank will say that they don't meet their guidelines, and in that case, their pay net wasn't high enough for that bank.
Mm.
And the pay net score is the most important commercial credit score. Everybody's kind of familiar with pay debts, okay? But pay net is what commercial banks report your payments to, your missed payments on commercial loans, or all those payments get reported to pay net, okay? Paynet.
Perfect. This guy's
So
dropping gems. So if you guys are liking the
so
content so far, be sure to subscribe. I didn't mean to cut you off.
no, you fine. No, you fine. And so, yeah, the paynet is very important, and it starts with building commercial credit. So I mean, personally, I wrestle with on how I'm going to give people advice, because it's always that big saying. You got some people who want to just pay something for cash. They don't want the debt. You know what I'm saying? They don't want the hassle. But at the same time, if they don't establish good debt, you know, if they don't learn how to use good debt, they're never going to be able to scale. And that's in a lot of cases. You see guys in real estate trying to buy cash for everything. But I think, because I'm a finance guy, of course, I'm biased, right?
Yeah.
But you got to learn how to use debt to
Yeah.
to leverage your investments. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
Because cash is for opportunities. Cash is what's going to get you out of situations. But if you tie your cash up into a truck, you can't get that out unless you sell it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's that cash is gone until you sell it, and so it's gone until it breaks down and you liquidate it, however way you liquidate it. So that's why I think people, they definitely in the beginning, they need to kind of analyze, do a strategy plan. Okay, am I going to rent or am I going to buy? Talk to somebody like me, get an approval, see what you can get approved for. Also talk to a rental company and see what their terms are going to be, so you can weigh your options. Don't just be like, oh, I'm going to rent, okay, or I'm just going to buy. Weigh your options out. Like, nobody wants to plan no more. They don't want to plan,
They just
nothing. They just want to just go. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So, yeah. So, and I'm going down another wormhole, but
No, dude.
commercial credit is very important. And it starts with their personal credit and building small trade lines. Those business credit cards. Yeah, those are nice. They report to your Experian business. They report the pay debts. Those are nice, because some banks look at pay debts. Some banks look at Experian business. Okay, but for the if your game plan is to be a big boy in this industry, you got to get your pay net score right.
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, how it sounds like to me, man, it's almost like you're like, when you go to an airport and they got those big towers, you're like air traffic control for someone who wants to start a trucking business. Because people, that's like one of the most essential skills I think you could agree in entrepreneurship. Nobody wants to write it down. Okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Make a checklist and actually have somebody who's experienced who could kind of guide you in the right area. They just want to
Yeah.
watch one video, run out there. But credit is super important. I literally back in December, my partners and we closed on a 6 family and we only put down 20%. So like, unless it's realistic, like, it doesn't really make sense. Is if you have good credit, that's, even if you got to pay a little bit of interest, it's a part of the game, but it's way better.
That's the game. You pay to play.
Dollars in cash, and then I think it's just
And
better to finance it and then pay a little bit
yeah,
of interest and keep your cash, because cash is king to
that's it.
do other things.
And you hit that on the money with the interest, and that's why people, I get a lot of, a lot of people. I see a lot of people who's new. Their work, they kind of base their success off of somebody else. Hey, what's your insurance rate? Or, what you paying for insurance, or what's your interest rate on your loan? How much you had to put for a down payment? Nobody can compare their company with another company.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And on the interest side, again, I'm trying to start preach. You got to talk to people like me and Daniel, your CPA, a bookkeeper, so you can, and especially an accountant, so you can understand that, okay, if I get this commercial loan, this interest that I'm paying could be tax deductible. It's a business expense, and I'm no CPA, but I'm just saying, like, talk to these people, have these consultations. Yeah. Okay, if it charges you $100, pay for that $100. It could save you down the road, 10 grand or something. So assemble your team before you start trying to assemble this equipment. Yep. You know what I'm saying? Assemble your team, assemble your plan before you start trying to lease or rent or buy anything. You know what I mean?
I totally agree. And I actually mentioned that for anybody's interested, I have a trucking course down below for only $197. I talk about, a lot of people in the thing, want like some golden secret. I'm talking about in the course that I have, where you got to kind of have the accountant, you got to have a mechanic, you got to have a finance guy, you got to have an insurance guy, because I know you want to get on the road and drive, but if you don't have the thing set up in the back end, you're a pothole from putting everything down the drain. Tell me about the funding process. I know you said, I don't know if you want to touch on, we spoke about it briefly, about like, where are people you recommend actually looking for this equipment, but I don't know if you want to touch on that, but touch on the funding process. What is it like? How long for an approval? How long to get funded? Anything on that?
Okay. So the funding process is, after you talk to myself or somebody on my team, we got to first get an understanding of what you're trying to do, what you're trying to buy, what's your background, what's your experience. Okay. There is financing available for startups. Okay. But when you're a startup, you're risky. Okay. You're risky to a bank. And of course, when you're risky, two things are going to inflate: a down payment or or interest rate that you're going to pay. Okay. So the first step is us understanding what you're trying to do and going through the application process. It's a credit application that you'll go through, and what you'll need to submit to us is the credit application, 3 months bank statements, and the invoice and the spec sheets of that piece of equipment, but I'm talking about a truck, of that truck or trailer that you're trying to get. And you will get that invoice and spec sheet from whatever dealer that you have scoped that piece of equipment out. If you have not found that piece of equipment, okay, and you just know you want a 2021 Freightliner or whatever, okay, or a 2019 box, okay, give us those details. We'll see what the market value is, and we'll get the approval based on that. So that like, okay, I'm approved at this amount. This is going to be my payments. This is going to be how many months I'm going to pay this. All right. And then they can make a conscious decision to move forward or not. Okay. And, stuff is kind of scarce right now, So, we are helping. We're calling on vendors. some vendors that we've done business with before, and newer vendors. Just like, hey, what do you have in inventory? We got a client who's approved for this amount. He's trying to get a 2021 Freightliner or whatever, Volvo, whatever you want to do. And what do you have in the inventory? It's a grind. You got to grind to get that equipment right now. We coming out of COVID, and these big loads are moving, man. So that's pretty much the process. Once you get that approval, we go over that approval with you, and if that person's fine with that approval, we move forward. And it's documentation that goes, that starts, loan documentation, the contract between you and that bank, the bank saying, okay, we're going to buy this semi truck on your behalf, and you're going to pay us back over the next 48 months, this $2,000 a month or whatever. Okay, you sign those things, and that process, the approval process, can happen at the longest 24 hours, the shortest like 3 hours. Okay, so
you get someone funded.
You said, how fast can I get someone funded? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well, that depends on the applicant, because once they get those loan documents, if they drag an ass on signing what they need to sign, or supplying, their driver's license or voided checks, if they have to do a down payment, if they're dragging ass on, submitting a down payment, it really depends on them. If you got somebody who's ready to go and is on clockwork with their paperwork, man, we can get funding. The whole process can go in a perfect situation like 2 days.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But that ain't always the case.
some people, they drag feet with the paperwork. But it seems like if everything as far as your credit and your money and stuff like that is good to go, then you seem like on your side you can move pretty quick. I definitely, Daniel, I don't want to ramble too long. Anything final notes you want to say for anybody? I will put his contact information to his company and his sales rep on screen. But is there anything, whether it's words of wisdom or motivation or any sort of advice for anybody trying to get some sort of piece of equipment financed in this business?
Before you finance anything, know your game plan. Know how your asset is going to make money. That's an asset that you're going to purchase. Or if you're renting it, it's an asset that you're renting. Know how it's going to make money. Have a backup plan on if that first plan does not work.
Awesome.
Before you even go down that road, because you don't want to go down the road of defaults, because you're defeating the purpose. You're supposed to be, stacking, building your credit, building your commercial credit, so you can grow your business. But you can't grow a business if you're not using your advisors, if you're not keeping your eyes on your books. A business owner should be looking at their books every week, their profit and loss statements, especially in trucking. All right, you moved $5,000 in freight. Okay, what was your expenses? All that stuff. If they don't want to pay for a bookkeeper, they need to be using QuickBooks. And I just found a new bank that kind of does all that for itself. It's called Found. I don't get paid for them, but I just think it's cool. FOUND. It's an online bank, and they do if you're using that debit card, they keep track of all the expenses. And they produce profit and loss statements and balance sheets and your quarterly or annual taxes at the end of the year. I'm like, what the hell? So the only downfall is that you can only have, I guess, your social. You can only have one company, because I tried to sign up, another one of my companies for that account, and then it wouldn't let me do it. And then so when I reached out to them, they was like, well, they're a new company. They're like, unfortunately, I guess they can't do it. They don't have the capabilities right now. So somebody who's just starting an LLC and they don't want to kick out for a bookkeeper to keep track of their books, and of course they're driving, so they truly don't have time when they're tired on the weekends or whatever to really keep up with books. Use that Found so you can understand your financials. When you start financing big stuff or commercial real estate, you're going to need your tax returns, your profit and loss statements, your balance sheets handy. And you need to know that anyway, as a business owner. That's the health of your business. That's how you understand if you're in business or if you got a hobby. that's costing you a lot of money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
You dropping jewels on people because people want the money, but when you got to go back and do the paperwork, that's one of the hardest parts of business. Making the money, driving, that could be simple. When you got to sit down in front of a bunch of papers and with a calculator and really, that's the part that just breaks people because it's really
yeah,
it's
it
it's
does.
one of the hardest parts.
Hell, it broke me, Felix. I mean, that's why I'm so passionate about it because I was there. I was the dude who delinquent on his taxes and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Not
Yeah.
keeping up with my books, and I had to learn the hard way.
Yeah.
You know, and so I could see disaster before it even happens when I see some people that's just, hey, I just want to go. It's great. You're a great driver. You can back up that damn, that dry van. That's great. But what about the business side?
No.
Okay. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what's going to be longevity for you.
Gotcha.
Because you can always drive. You can always be a company driver. That's,
Yeah, and then you
but
don't have to do any of that, and you can just drive. But if you want
yeah,
to maximize it, you got to learn how to do the organization and all things.
exactly.
Cut you off, man. I don't want to make this video too long. We're about 20 minutes in so far.
Sure.
I appreciate you. Like I said,
Yes,
I'll
sir.
put contact information to work with your company on screen now. Let's get to Daniel. What's going on, Daniel? Tell everybody a little bit about yourself, who you are, and where you're from.
Yeah, so Daniel Summers. I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina. Live in Concord, so right outside of Charlotte. I own Charles String Incorporated. That's an independent insurance agency, and we specialize in all things trucking. So box trucks, hot shots, cargo vans, semis, dump trucks, tow trucks. If it hauls anything, we can cover it. And I'm in 7 states right now, but I've got some partner agencies as well. Started a YouTube channel myself a few months ago, and that's been kind of expanding things quickly. And but yeah, I mean, just trucking is my thing, and more specifically, new ventures. So anybody trying to get into it, that's my little niche, my bread and butter. And I like helping people get started. That's just what I love to do.
Awesome. So you said you're in 7 states. I will put Daniel's information on screen as well. I'll put his YouTube channel as well. Did you want to say, because I do have a question about states, about what do you think is the hardest states to get approved as far as insurance? Did you want to touch on what states you specifically deal with?
So the states that I'm licensed in more states than that. I am waiting on Progressive to approve more appointments because if I don't have Progressive in a state, it's almost not worth it to do business there because they do so much of trucking that and especially with new ventures, they do almost 90 something % of new ventures. But so the states I'm in, North, South Carolina, Georgia, Texas, Ohio, Maryland, Illinois, and then I'll have a couple more here in just about another month. And then I've got some affiliates, other agencies I work with that I'll send business to. So if you've got, if anybody watching wants quotes or anything like that, has questions, and I'm open to helping people with questions. I do consultation calls. I do those for free. Where it doesn't matter where you're at. I'll help you out. I'll answer a call. I do call schedules if y'all check the info and want to schedule a call on my website. But yeah, so states, the hardest states to get started in, or the hardest ones to get insurance, man, California, Florida, New York, those are the top 3 that are just a night. Florida, I see quotes out of Florida. It's just why would you bother? I mean, I hate to say that, but I know there's people that do quite well in Florida, but geez. And then California, for new ventures, Progressive's not even writing new ventures in California right now. So that when 90% in any given state go through Progressive as a new venture and Progressive won't do business there, where does that 90% go? And the other thing is Progressive has this nice system where you can go in and you can do all the edits, the quotes, you can control everything from an agent. I don't need to go to an underwriter first and ask to get the quote. And then, if we end up doing a policy with most companies, we have to deal with an underwriting company that could be a third party. It makes processing everything very difficult. And then on top of that, Progressive does their own billing. A lot of other companies are here's an invoice paid in full for the year, 15, 20 grand, or go through a finance company. And so it's well, there's just more people involved in doing anything that you need for your policy. So that's, yeah. But those are also some of the highest rates. New York, California, Florida, Georgia tends to have some high rates. Like if you're driving anything commercial wise, the court system there tends to blame you for anything that happens. Like if you get in a wreck and it's not your fault, you should have still avoided it. You know, like like it's rough. So the rates tend to be pretty high there too. But yeah.
If you had to give anybody some sort of advice when they're watching this video as far as what they should look for when working with an insurance rep, what would you say is something that they should watch out for, look for, or somebody they should do business with?
Okay, so and I was guilty of this when I first started in insurance a few years ago. It's partially what led me into trucking, but you get like your local retail independent insurance agency, right? They do like home, auto, commercial, whatever. Okay. And they'll get somebody on the phone that's like, hey, I want a trucking policy. You can go start to quote that. Normally you sell a homeowner's policy and it's like maybe $2,000 for the year. Okay. That's not that exciting because they don't make as much on that. When you get a $20,000 trucking policy, it's like, ooh, bank. Like, so you get people that don't specialize in trucking that want to go write trucking policies and they don't understand like how involved it is. And they don't understand all the regulations, especially like we're talking motor carriers, like all the red tape comes into play. And if they don't know about all that stuff, like they could hop on some of these different insurance companies like Progressive and just plug in the info that Progressive asked for and spit out a quote. Hopefully they did it right. 9 times out of 10, I get a quote and I can find something to change on it that will like make the rate better or actually like get your authority activated. That's the thing that I run into the most, where people don't like include federal filings for a motor carrier. It's nuts. But yeah, so like find an agent that specializes in trucking. That's the most important thing. And then, if you can, look for people that have good resources, good technology. Like I have a system where you can hop on and do your own certificates, and that's kind of getting to be more of a common thing. A lot of agencies are adopting that. But like in general, insurance is like way behind the times in technology. So, if it's a really established agency, they might not like change. Like I come from a more technical background and I'm all about the technology and automation. So that's one of my like strong points, I guess. Other things to look out for. I don't know. Just make sure your agent specializes in trucking. You can get them on the phone or they reply to emails real quick. Like, I mean, a lot of the time throughout the day, I go from call to call, so I might miss a couple of calls, but I try to get right back to people. But for email, like, I mean, most of the time my inbox is empty or pretty close to it. And I reply to people normally in 5 to 10 minutes, unless it's, if it's policy related. If it's general questions, I get people from YouTube. Like I try to get through those as fast as I can, but when it comes to actually handling clients, it's like, that's top priority and you gotta be on it.
Awesome. What would you say someone should look for in a trucking policy? Can you touch on that?
So yeah, I mean, obviously, like if you're gonna start a trucking company, run off load boards, all that, you need $1 million auto liability. If we're talking general freight, okay. Most things need $1 million in auto liability if you're going to run anything off of load boards. Cargo policies are typically $100,000. Your physical damage for whatever your truck's worth. Some people don't understand how that works. Like when you're first starting a trucking company, like if you've never had a commercial policy before, commercial works a little different than personal auto or any other type of personal insurance. So like learning about commercial insurance is definitely a big thing I like promote. Like go study, go learn. The more you get well versed in this, the more you can like be successful with your business and plan ahead. But other things in what to look for. So, just making sure you have the right coverages for what you've got, unfortunately, sometimes you get like those agents that don't know all the ins and outs and they like try and wing it, and you can end up with the wrong thing. And like if you end up with the wrong company that can't offer you other coverages that you're going to need, and you just paid a big down payment, you're not getting refunded. Yeah. Okay. And then you got to start over with another company. I hate that so much when it's like, oh, I just paid $5,000, but they can't give me what I need with this company because the agent didn't ask me the right questions. So now I've got to pay like another $5,000 a month later. That's not fun. Yeah. That's not fun.
that nobody wants.
I'm always talking like strategy and what are we doing over the next 12 months? Because it's 12-month policy. And like I said, there's a lot of red tape around this stuff with all the federal regulations. So like when someone's like, oh yeah, I'd like to cancel my policy, it's like you don't, like, that's not how this works. Like if you have motor carrier authority, it's 35-day notice unless you like voluntarily revoke your authority and go inactive, which you probably don't want to do. You probably want to keep rolling. Or then you have to go put another policy in place. It's just, that's some things to watch out for.
Yeah, I got you. What would you say are some of the main factors when it comes to, rates?
Rates. Okay. So, in general, I'll talk about two things. So for new ventures, it's almost always like credit and driving history. Each state kind of has like base rates to begin with. And then, depending on the different variables, like how old are you? If you're running CDL equipment and semis and all that, like how long have you had your CDL? If you haven't had a CDL for 2 years and you want to start your own authority, you're going to Progressive for the most part. And if it's under 2 years, it's going to be expensive. If you're under 23 years old, it's going to be outrageous. Like ideal is, wait till you're 35 and you've had a CDL for 10 years, but that's not everybody. Yeah. So that's more towards new ventures. So credit plays a big factor, driving record, obviously, and driving record. Like some people get confused on this. They'll be like, oh, yeah, I got a speeding ticket, but I was in my personal vehicle. It's like, that still counts. Like, it's not like, oh, you weren't in a commercial vehicle. Like I got 10 DUIs. It was just in my personal vehicle. No.
We're just going to look right past that. No problem.
I promise. I just won't drink at work. Don't work like that. What else? So for existing businesses though, like don't get claims. Like I hate it. I'm in insurance and I probably shouldn't say this, but like you don't win in insurance. You lose more or less. Okay. Like, so if you can pay out of pocket, pay out of pocket. And this is like me, Daniel talking, not Daniel, the insurance agent. Cause like, especially in the first few years, because what you want to do, there's a few insurance companies that like will start working with you and have like premium service, all these better rates, more options, like things get a lot easier after 3 years, no losses. If you've got CDL equipment, everybody's got 2-3 years and everybody's got clean records. You get to that point and like insurance gets easier, but it's getting to there. And it's like, it's tough. I mean, I love it when I can get somebody in some of the more like, primo markets, but it's tough. And then also inspection scores. Having good inspection scores when you go up for renewals is a really big factor. And it's like so big that it's either you get a renewal or no one is willing to give you insurance. So then you're out of business.
I got you.
Yeah.
We just have a few more questions. What would you, if you had to say, what is the best insurance company that you like, working with and having your clients, get policies with, and, what are some of the benefits working with that specific?
Oh man. So I mean, obviously Progressive, like it's easy for the trucking company and it's easy for me because I don't have to wait on other people typically. So like Progressive lets me do everything for the most part. I mean, there's some one-off scenarios where like I have to get in touch with Progressive to make something happen, but I have like access to everything and I can, do all your endorsements, the billing is automated, all that. So that's easy. It's not always the best rates though, because they also rate the heaviest on credit when you're new. And then like if you're going up for renewal and you've got some bad inspections, they might not offer you a renewal. Like if you're trying to switch from another company to them. What else? Other companies here in North Carolina, National General's one that's pretty good. I like them a lot. The more preferred, like Northland is an awesome one. Canal's pretty good. Just depends on what you're doing. Some people, Canal got knocked down on their rating to like a B plus. But they're a good company. I mean, they've been doing trucking insurance like since before trucking insurance was required. But they're good people, and I think they're gonna like actually make some moves on the technology side here soon. So that could be exciting. But yeah, I mean, Progressive has it kind of dialed into. If you are getting a really insane rate from Progressive, then you probably have some things to work on before you should be doing anything in trucking. Like Jay was talking about, like get some things in order first. Like I would sacrifice some time fix my credit, fix my driving record. And then, just another word of advice, like always use an attorney. Don't get a speeding ticket, or drive slow. Like those things kill your rates. And it's always more worth it to pay an attorney if you can to take care of things.
I got you. Cool. So we're going to wrap it up on that note. If any, obviously I'm going to put both of your guys' information. I appreciate you guys getting on this interview with me. But Daniel, for anybody, kind of wrap it up. Any words of wisdom, piece of advice when trying to get a policy, anything that you could, whether they work with you or they don't work with you, any way you could point them in the right direction, anything you want to leave off with?
Yeah. I mean, Jay kind of said all the things that I would say. Plan ahead, strategize. I tell people, like, play chess, think 10 moves ahead. Yeah. Have backup plans. And that's the most important thing. And talk with your people, like I get calls every once in a while and it's like, hey, I just did this. Or I just hired this guy. He's in my truck on the road already. And I'm like, you didn't even run his NVR. Like, he's got to be on the policy before he starts the truck and moves. Like, so always, plan ahead. Like, any moves you're going to make, talk to your insurance guy, talk to your accountant, all that, talk to your finance guy.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, there you guys have it. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to put a thumbs up on it. If you guys are interested in the trucking course, it shows you step-by-step on how to start a trucking business. That's also in the description below. I'll put these guys' contact information on the screen. And again, thank you guys for both joining me on this video. We'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.
Cool. Thanks for having us. Peace.
Yeah. Appreciate it. Have a good one.